Hey y'all, it's me, the Nosy Goddess. And today we're getting into the business of Allison Holker, widow of Stephen Twitch Boss. And because her book is now released, there are details coming out, and they are disturbing to say the least. Let's get into it. First, we're going to talk about the Jasmine Brands post. Allison Holker says Twitch was in almost a constant state of high before his passing and left her with $1 million tax debt and overwhelming bills. Allison Holker is telling all about her relationship with late husband Stephen Twitch Boss in her new book, This Far My Story of Love, Loss, and Embracing the Light, released today, February 4th. The widow of the beloved TV personality recalls discovering through security cameras that Twitch had secretly increased his smoking, a habit she believes contributed to his 2022 death by suicide, she writes. What I didn't know until I surveyed our backyard security cameras was that Stephen's smoking had ratcheted up. He was smoking in the morning and at night. It's almost as if he used one strain of pot at the start of the day to become Twitch, then used another at night to come down from that persona. And adds, to the best of my knowledge, nobody knew. He was really good at hiding it. If I had been aware of the extent of his usage, I would have gone into protector mode right away. Allison shares that had she known, she would have encouraged her husband of 9 years to enter rehab. She also claims that Twitch was allegedly sneaking out between takes on the Ellen DeGeneres show to smoke. The So You Think You Can Dance alum first spoke out about Twitch's alleged struggle with drug use earlier this year while promoting her book. She asserts that along with weed, she had also found other substances among his personal belongings, one she had no prior knowledge of. Elsewhere in the book, Allison addresses misconceptions about the financial state Twitch left her in, writing, "It's a misconception that I inherited Stephen's wealth. The reality is quite different. He had given away substantial sums of money to family and friends and spent recklessly on drugs and his weird art collections. The tax bill he left me for the year he died was $1 million. She continues, contrary to popular belief, I am not profiting significantly from his residuals, as Stephen's work primarily involves reality shows where they are minimal. I claimed them mostly to ensure the taxes were properly paid. The bills he left me were overwhelming." What are your thoughts on Allison's latest revelations about Twitch? I'm looking at some of these comments. She should be ashamed of how she is talking about the father of her children. So, how much was his insurance policy, Allison? Somebody said he chose her. Someone else said, did she not understand her vows? I'm confident my wife, regardless of famous or not, would honor my legacy's memory with grace and dignity and not being a clout chaser. And then someone else said, I thought she didn't know about the drugs until after he died. This is disgusting, okay, to say the least. Again, where's your integrity? Where's your respect for this man, for his children, for his family? First and foremost, then I think she's talking about smoking marijuana. When has smoking marijuana caused such issues that she's saying to the point of him unaliving himself? But I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to speak on that. But as far as the tax debt goes, we don't know if this is true. I don't believe it, to be honest. I don't know. I can't see Twitch leaving his family in such a lurch. I believe she's claiming these things about his finances because she does not want his family outstretching their hands, asking for anything from her. I believe she wants to make it appear as though anything she has, she earned herself, and that Twitch had nothing to do with anything that she owns. I believe she bought a house not long after he passed away. She sold the house they lived in and upgraded and bought a more expensive home in Encino, and it was like a $5 million home. I don't see that being possible if you were in such overwhelming debt and all of these things were going on. Now, Us Weekly has an article headline: Allison Holker writes Twitch Google suicide hotline months before death in book Revelations. Allison Holker detailed her relationship with the late Stephen Twitch boss in her newly released memoir. Holker, 36, made headlines prior to the book's release on Tuesday, February 4th, after revealing that she read Twitch's journals following his December 2022 death by suicide. In quote, he was wrestling with a lot inside himself, and he was trying to self-medicate and cope with all of those feelings because he didn't want to put it on anyone because he loved everyone so much. He didn't want other people to take on his pain. She went on to further detail the book, revealing privately struggling with the impact of past sexual abuse and an apparent drug addiction. They recounted the fact that she was with one of her friends looking for something for him to wear to the funeral when she found in a closet a cornucopia of drugs, including mushrooms, pills, and other substances. It says she opened the book with a prologue remembering her anniversary trip with Twitch days before he died. He gifted her a gorgeous black Prada suit, which she referred to as a notable departure from his regular gifts. Did he buy me a black Prada suit so I'd have a nice outfit to wear to his funeral, she wondered. And if he did, was it one last gesture by an incurable romantic or just messed up beyond belief? Elsewhere in the book, Holker recalled that the last dance she did with Twitch was set to the Alicia Keys song December back to June, noting they were perfectly in step when doing the choreography. Stephen was navigating a complex emotional landscape. He fluctuated between genuine happiness and profound sadness, flipping between the two as if his brain were a dimmer switch. The first time Holker met Twitch was at a party with friends following her time on So You Think You Can Dance season 2 in 2006. At the time, she was in a different relationship, so their love story didn't start until the show's 7th season in 2010, where they were both competing as all-stars. If Step Up had been a documentary instead of a musical romance, Stephen and I would have been shoo-ins for the lead roles. The plot of our movie would have looked something like this. Boy meets girl, girl rebuffs boy, girl reassesses boy, but a series of comical misconnection keeps them from getting together. Boy and girl finally dance with each other, and it's magic. Holker recalled the awful racist comments she and Twitch received when they started dating as well. It didn't matter to me that we were different races, but it quickly became evident after we started dating that it was a problem 1,000% in the Black and white communities that spawned us. Holker wrote that Twitch experienced trauma and abandonment issues. She claimed that he grew up feeling resented by his father. His feelings of being forsaken or forgotten intensified after his father married another woman who bore him a son whom he doted on. Stephen internalized his biological dad's disinterest in him as evidence that he must be fundamentally unlovable. While Twitch was an adult, she compared him to a forlorn 7-year-old because of his past. Holker noted that she feels terrible not being able to help him heal his inner child. Posting on social media during the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020 allowed the Boss family to gain widespread recognition. Holker speculated that their social media success probably became a stressor for Twitch near the end of his life. He had it in his head that we should always look like that perfect family, which was unrealistic, she wrote. Holker explained how the Ellen DeGeneres show ending in May 2022 caused a major shift in Twitch's day-to-day life and allowed him to poke around in the dark corners of his mind. I don't believe the end of the show was destabilizing because he was not out of a job. There was no work slowdown for him. We had so many projects in the pipeline. It did, however, lead to a shift in Stephen's routine. For 9 years, the show had given his days a structure and rhythm. No longer bound to a schedule, Stephen had more time to spend inside of his head. She also broke down how he concealed his depression struggles prior to death and admitted that she might have overlooked some symptoms. Holker recalled recognizing irritability, insomnia, weight loss, a lack of energy, a disinterest in work and friends and fun, as hints of his deteriorating mental state in the months before he died. More and more, he came up with excuses or reasons not to do things he previously would have thoroughly enjoyed, she wrote. I find out later there's a name for that, anhedonia, and it's a common symptom of depression. Holker also claimed that Twitch's personal hygiene suffered as well. I would find myself pleading with him to take a shower. At the time, I thought he was too tired or to properly care for himself. Now I know that neglecting self-care is another classic sign of depression. Twitch had plans to confront pressures of fatherhood, grapple with the absence of father figures in his own life, and address his feelings of abandonment by going on a ayahuasca trip. The first night, Holker recalled, things seemed to be going well, but she wrote that things had taken a really weird turn. Instead of sticking it out, he decided to cut the trips short, explaining that through further research, Twitch left himself more exposed and vulnerable than ever by not completing the process and follow-up sessions. I've since learned that for individuals with underlying mental health issues, ayahuasca can exacerbate deep-seated problems. It can bring those issues to a boil, if you will, if there is not close supervision. The outcome can be opposite of the intended healing. Stephen was never the same afterward. She said he started to give off different energy. It was like every day he woke up on the wrong side of the bed. During Twitch's final moments, Holker wrote that he started amassing a certain type of art. Okay, he decided to start collecting art. Cool, I think, with a shrug. Only these pieces were not cool. They were disturbing. Many were humans, either without eyes or X's where the eyes should be, or faces that appeared to be melting, or masks that were sliding off. Holker wrote that the night before he died, Twitch had texted her a tree emoji, which was their signal that he was stopping at a marijuana dispensary. Not long after he left, he called me and sounded freaked out. He said he was really high, which seemed totally out of character for him. This was not an ordinary conversation. I'd never known him to act like this. Smoking typically made Stephen more mellow, not paranoid. I was unsure what to do. When he came home, Holker claimed he was acting terribly strange, even telling her I lied repeatedly. I asked him questions, but he was incoherent. I will forever be tormented by those two words. I lied, she wrote, noting that they went to bed shortly after. The next morning, their routine started and Twitch addressed the previous night. He apologized profusely for his bizarre behavior the night before. I complained how worried he made me and asked him what lie he was talking about. He claimed not to remember saying that. He apologized again. Then he turned the conversation toward work. Holker recalled saying love you to Twitch before he took Wesley to school. The last words she would say to him. She also wrote that Twitch's last words to Wesley were, I wish I could be your Superman. When he didn't come home that day, Holker got the police involved. On December 13, 2022, she filed a formal missing persons report. Eventually, she started calling rehab facilities in the area, thinking that Twitch had checked himself into one. However, police brought news of his death. He was going through something, and now he was getting help. I was so caught up in my thoughts, I barely registered the womp, womp, womp of helicopters flying overhead and the wail of police sirens. Something was happening near our house. About 20 minutes later, the two cops out front were joined by a third officer. The new arrival looked at me with such compassion in his eyes. He had to sit me down, and my heart sank. They don't ask you to sit unless what they're about to tell you is very, very bad. 3 days later, after he died, Holker received a message from Twitch in her sleep. His lips started to move. I could clearly make out what he was saying. I'm sorry, I love you. This was hardly the one time she experienced something of the sort, even receiving signs from him in their house. I started finding stray feathers, which according to a book I read represented messages from the deceased. I had asked Stephen to let me know that he was watching over us. He was almost too vigilant. After a while, his presence became overwhelming. I had to ask him to stop. boy. I remember in an interview, she spoke on him still talking to her and speaking to her. She never expressed that it had become problematic for her. All of this is very disturbing. The whole book, it seems, is about Twitch, yet he's not on the cover. And she also is upset about people not separating her from him today versus back then when he was with us. I just find that this is just disgusting, distasteful, disrespectful. And I can't believe this woman would do this. Like, it's just unbelievable to me. I just have no respect. I'm a widow myself. I would never, ever have done anything like this. It is just irreprehensible. She's just a disgusting person, and not allegedly. Now, she's claiming that he did all of this smoking and he was just so high and all of these things. But according to his autopsy report, let's see what it says. Nearly 6 months since the death of Stephen Twitch Boss, an autopsy report has provided new details about the beloved dancer's unexpected death. A new autopsy, this is from the LA Times. A new autopsy report obtained by the Times clears up some unanswered questions, confirming that there were no drugs or alcohol found in the dancer's system at the time of his death. The report also stated that per his family, Boss had no history of suicidal ideation or suicide attempts. His wife had filed a missing persons report with the Los Angeles Police Department the day before Boss was found dead by the motel housekeeper 10 minutes after checkout time. It's been really hard because I can't understand what was happening in that moment he died. Boss left a note before he died, and the contents alluded to past challenges and led investigators to conclude Boss's death was a suicide, which the autopsy report has confirmed. He did not, however, have a will in place. In February, Holker Boss filed a petition in Los Angeles for his half of their shared estate. So he had a clean autopsy report, no drugs, no alcohol. So how is it that he was getting higher than ever? He was high the day before, but yet his system was clean according to the autopsy report. I think that she should be made to show receipts. We need to see proof of some of these things she's claiming. And I think that, this woman is, again, a disgustingly horrible person. I hope that book fails miserably. And even if it doesn't, the universe has its way of making things right. And I believe God is going to give Stephen Twitch Boss the justice that he deserves post his passing. So I'm going to leave this here. Till next time. Bye.